Hello everyone. Today's video, we're going to be giving my first impressions and thoughts and what have you on the Edge of Fate expansion for Destiny 2. I do apologize if this is a bit more out there. This is definitely not Warhammer 40k oriented. Uh, I'm also not new to Destiny. I've played for quite some time. Took a 1 year break after Final Shape, came back, decided to come back with this, and I figured may as well give my thoughts on the expansion. Talking about the characters, the story, uh, the overall update. To exotic, new exotics, the portal. But we're gonna get into talking about the story first. I'm not gonna play any story content on that, but I am going to talk about it. So, fair warning for anyone who has yet to play the Edge of Fate expansion or yet to fully experience the story. This is a spoiler warning. If you'd like to not hear anything with regards to anything to the narrative, feel free to skip ahead in the video or refer to the timestamps down below in the description. But with that, you've been warned. So I'm going to begin talking about it. But overall, just thoughts on the story are it's pretty solid. It's nothing earth shatteringly amazing or bad, I will say. And then there are some points where it's a little meh. Overall, I'd say it does a good job at like beginning to set the stage for a new overarching conflict that has to do with the Nine, has to do with Maya Sundaresh, since she makes a return in this expansion. Overall, like with the overall like length of the campaign being, I believe, 7 to 8 hours long, I think, and I don't know if that's just only referring to the main quests or that even includes the side quests. But in terms of general length, it felt not too different than the Final Shape in its main story with length. I mean, I'm sure there are discrepancies and differences. And then this is taking into consideration, doing the main quests and all the side quests before finishing the campaign off, or the main story off in Edge of Fate. One point of criticism I can say about the story is that I do wish it played more into time being kind of wonky here on Kepler. That would have definitely been a really neat thing. Kind of wish that they played more into it. I know everyone or a lot of people in the community have made mention of, not liking Matter Spark, not liking the ball, not liking how much it's used for navigating through places like this or what have you. And my general thoughts about it, it's not terrible. It is annoying at times to go, place to place with it, and I do wish it was a little faster. Like the overall movement speed of it was quicker, and that the little boost you have either was more like a Sparrow's boost or had like an incredibly short cooldown, so you could just kind of like spam it around. I know if upgrades it gets better. I haven't completed the Fabled or Mythic Kepler zones to do that, but people have made complaints about ball and how much you have to use that. Matter morph is pretty neat, but doesn't come up very often. But you don't get access to it until like the second half of the campaign, or the main story. But continuing on, addressing the main story, it's important to talk about the characters, the main individuals that you're interacting with, in the narrative. That being Ikora, Lodi, brand new character, Orin, who's not necessarily a new character, but she's not the emissary of the Nine anymore. Drifter, Maya Sundaresh, and then you have the Archon, and then of course you have the Nine finally taking a more active role in things. And I would say overall with the characters, Ikora is definitely a really strong character this expansion. I know some people weren't necessarily the biggest fan of, like, finding out who she was basically before becoming a guardian and all that. I think overall with her story, with what goes on with her and her interactions and dialogue with Lodi, the Drifter, Orin, they're good. They flow really well. Something very immediate that everyone has been very quick to point out with Ikora is, oh, she doesn't sound the same, different VA, and that's because of the if I'm not mistaken, the SAG-AFTRA or AFTRA strikes. As far as I know, the original VA, or the VA that was voicing Ikora before this expansion, has decided to, or has been re-recording her lines, so that will, Ikora will be going back to sounding normal in the near-ish future, perhaps. But, as I said, her dialogue, what she says, more or less, is smooth, natural. It makes sense for her character. It just sounds off because it's not the same voice actress. I apologize for the background gameplay. I'm a little splitting my attention between giving my thoughts and not dying. But moving on to the next kind of character, an important character to the narrative is Lodi, brand new character. Him being a man out of time from the 60s, basically working for a federal bureau of control kind of agency. Fits. It makes sense. All of his dialogue sounds good. It flows really well. Doesn't seem too out of place. And if anything does seem out of place, it makes sense. He's not from this time period. He's from the 60s, so he's going to make references or remarks to things or use terminology where it's like, oh, that's very old-fashioned and what have you, and it works. It's fine. He doesn't come across as annoying. He genuinely has, relevance to the narrative. I mean, he's the new emissary of the Nine. And with that, Orin as a character, as the former emissary, she does a fair bit to set the stage, to give us as players, more insight as to, what it is like being what it is like being the emissary. She, of course, relays that kind of information to Lodi, to Ikora, to the Drifter. More about that is expanded upon, and it comes across as just smooth and natural. Maya Sundaresh, as an antagonist, is very hands off. Like, she definitely is present and is, makes her remarks, says her things. The Vex play a big role or a prominent role as an antagonistic force, but very, out of the way. If anything, the Fallen with the Archon play a bigger, more prominent role and threat. And getting to the point of, speaking on the Archon, very disappointed. There was it felt like there was a lot more that could have been done with the Archon as a character, because it comes across as oh, in the beginning he is, he's a crazed fanatic, but when you do the story mission where you're in this area that I'm currently in, and you're going to destabilize these generators, he's fumbling his words. He's kind of losing the script a little bit, and it's oh, maybe he's just some Fallen who's been scheming and lying his way into the top, basically, politician kind of stuff, and then it's made out to be that's the case, and and then you get into the second half of the campaign or the main story, and it's oh no, he actually is just crazy and fanatical and all that, and once the plunge Kepler into the singularity and devour the solar system, it just felt really lame. it felt like there could have been more with that character. Also, in terms of like an overarching like threat, the Archon never really seemed like a threat. Like besides the House of Exiles wanting to destabilize Kepler for whatever their agenda may have been, it's just weak. Like the conductor Maya Sundaresh was a better villain or main antagonist, I'd argue, than the Archon in this expansion, and she was a more passive antagonist. And then last point of to touch on with characters in the story with the Drifter. He's the Drifter. Uh, Good dialogue like always. Has good rapport with not only Ikora and Orin, but like Lodi. The fact that he calls Lodi kid in like the unironic sense of like basically calling him a kid is good. It flows well. It also just goes to show like the difference in like, yeah, although Lodi is a grown man, in the context of Destiny, humanity once we got into the Golden Age, have extended lifespans that go into like the centuries. A funny point of criticism that Lodi makes in the story is referring to how no one thought it was a good idea to have any set dates or times for things, or like to etch some of this stuff in stone, which is a big point of criticism that Destiny as an IP has had, of there being no set dates and times for anything, and so it's hard to pin down when things happen. But moving on from speaking on characters and touching on them, touch on the destination, to touch on Kepler, the current place I'm getting my goods given to me, as you can see. It's an alright destination. I'd say with the exploring and the secrets, it's really solid. Visually, it's nothing super crazy or outstanding. It's very to me, at least, as a longtime Destiny player, it's very reminiscent of D1 Venus in like color and what have you. But in terms of overall layout, how things feel like navigating, it reminds me of the Tangled Shore. And granted, a lot of that has to comes down to just, hey, you have a lot of fallen architecture that's very haphazard with where it's located and structured. Not only that, but the fallen are a big enemy in this expansion. And then with the more D1 Venus kind of feel to it, it has mostly to do with the Vex, but also just the overall color palette. It's very yellow, blue, and green, which, if memory serves me correctly, was a general color palette of Venus. Getting to the secrets on Kepler aren't that bad. That's where using Mattermorph and Matterspark play a big role. Kind of whatever. Overall, good destination. It's not terrible. It's not like Mercury, where it's just a small patrol space that then has a couple lost sectors. No, it's actually pretty expansive. It's actually quite easy to get lost, to lose your way around things, even with having like a marker and you have it waypointed, and then it's like, hey, I'm told to go this way, but then it's telling me to loop back around to go back to the stacks, kind of thing. Happens fairly often. It's kind of annoying, but that's just something where you give it time and you're gonna get used to it. Moving on from talking about like specifically the expansion stuff, and I can't speak on the raid. Raid hasn't come out yet as of time of recording. It's currently Friday, July 18th. But with the portal, moving on to just general like changes that happened with this update. The portal system definitely is pretty solid. It's pretty good. I will say, just from my experience before jumping headfirst into the expansion, the portal is a little not unintuitive, but it's a little misleading. So in the case of like solo ops, it's clearly solo ops, which are your lost sectors, or your daily lost sectors, your just that stuff where you could just jump in, bang one out, in 5 minutes or so. You get your loot, okay, cool, and then you just kind of move on, go by your day. You're doing it by yourself. That's perfectly fine. Fire team is a little misleading in my opinion because fire team implies that okay, yeah, you're teaming up with other people, so you're matchmaking into content to go do strikes, empire hunts, uh, things that you normally would do in fire teams that are not like raids or exotic missions. But what's misleading about this, and one major point of criticism I have, and I've seen other people on Reddit forums and Steam discussion threads talk about, is the only parts of this page that are match made are fire team ops playlist, quick play, regardless of difficulty. But then when you scroll down to liminality or the glassway or the empire hunt, or you go into these battlegrounds, all of this is not match made. Now, sure, we could say, oh, well, it's not match made because you could modify the thing. You can customize it, you can add to it so you get better score, better rewards, and all that. Okay, but what prevents this from just being a match made thing, right? It doesn't even have to be, oh, well, it has to be, it can't be match made because people have to have the same modifiers as you have selected in the customized thing. Not necessarily. Because because the way it tends to work, like in other games, like we'll just use a game that is not the same genre but has similar, uh, is a mostly PVE game, is really like a game like Warhammer 40k Dark Tide, where you can just quick play into missions, right? You can just go, hey, I set the difficulty, I'm doing a difficulty that's a hard, and I'm just quick playing into it, and then you get matched into a mission with whatever modifiers that mission has at that preset difficulty and what have you. But like that's it. With Destiny, just at least with how this portal tab is situated, it's okay. You press this, you click quick play, normal, advanced, expert, or master, and you are then match made into content with other people doing content that is of this power range, right? Okay, cool, great. If the power range is 270 or higher, then that means that if you click quick play master difficulty, you are going to get matched right into an activity that is set in one of these tabs, whatever, at that difficulty threshold or power threshold with whatever modifiers the person who initiated this would go. That'd make it so much more intuitive and not so frustrating, because when having done stuff in the fire team tab, instead of just quicking the quick play options, I just go, oh, I want to do Glassway because Glassway has bonus drops. Okay, cool. I click it, and then I customize it, and I go to launch, not even looking at, oh, well, it doesn't have matchmaking on, and then I get put into it, and I'm like, hey, why am I the only person here? Why am I doing this solo? It just seems very counter to what this tab is. This tab is supposed to be the fire team stuff. Yeah, oh, it is the fire team stuff. Okay, but just by the nature of the name, it implies that all of this is match-made content. And under normal circumstances, that is the case. I mean, even when we refer to the past, right? Before the portal tab came out, when we go back to the world tab, which is also super desaturated, if you were to go to whatever destination you were referring to, like you wanted to go, let's say you really wanted to go do arms dealer strike, whatever reason, right? You could go to this strike, click it, do whatever difficulty, it didn't matter, you press launch, and then you get match made into the arms dealer. Okay, cool, simple as. That's all that mattered. Why is it that in an advancement to go forward, we have somehow went 2 steps back, right? Where sure, this is overall like good and more streamlined, but hey, if I want to do liminality and get a focus for the this new submachine gun and whatever bonus drop may be applicable to this, why am I soloing it now? right? This is the fire team tab. This should be for fire team stuff. This should all be match made. Moving away from the pinnacle, or moving away from the fire team tab in the portal, the pinnacle stuff overall don't have any issues with it. It is a little unfortunate that Encore no longer is a pinnacle drop as of right now because of the Bungie removing the grapple modifier. I believe, if I'm not mistaken, I can double check here real quick. But like overall, thoughts on the pinnacle on the portal is it's not it in the grand scope of it all. It's a good addition. It's a good addition. It definitely streamlines the experience a bit more instead of having to pour over the director and go what does this mean? What does this mean? What does this mean? What does this mean? What is all in whatever destination and like what to do? Whereas you look at the portal and it's like, okay, well, I only have, let's say, an hour to do something in Destiny and I just want to like pump out, whatever activity I'm doing. Okay, cool. I could just go to the solo tab. I can go do, the Caldera by myself, churn out completions of that every 5 minutes, let's say, and okay, cool, I get whatever higher power loot than I normally would have. That's overall like really, 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 really solid. Moving off of the portal and speaking about the tower, speaking about the shooting range. The shooting range is honestly, it's a good addition. It's a long asked and requested addition since the tribute hall. I do know that currently there is a big debacle about damage numbers being inaccurate across the board everywhere with any guns. It's not just new guns; it's also old guns. I am uncertain as to whether or not that's something new, like a new bug that was brought into the game with big update, or what have you. But the addition of the firing range, the shooting range, it's really good. Long asked for. Some could say it's too little, too late. It's, sure. Uh, but this makes testing damage numbers more useful, even if the only targets that you could shoot at that make it to where you have accurate damage, like between like what you see of like 733 and okay, cool, it's 733, but then you go to shoot, I don't know, let's say Carl, the target dummy, and instead of it doing 460, it's 307. So clearly there's a discrepancy there, and that's across the board everywhere with every gun. It's gonna get addressed. It's not the end of the world. Shooting range is overall good, and hey, I'm sure if it wasn't for the addition of the shooting range, this kind of issue probably wouldn't have been caught or noticed by the community as quickly as it was. Speaking on more broad updates that happened with the alongside the expansion, the new exotics, third iteration, which you can get on the season pass at either tier 70 of the free track or tier 1 if you are a pass owner. Third iteration is really strong. I do understand that it is currently more powerful than it was intended to be, but overall, really solid scout rifle. Feels good. It is pretty unique. I think it being able to dip into the toe dip into 3 void keywords, once you get its catalyst, is a little extreme. But overall, this is a very fun exotic scout rifle to run with. I could definitely see there being builds with it, either as Void Titan, Void Hunter, or Void Warlock, or even Prismatic potentially. Definitely really solid. I know for me on my Arc Titan, it feels really solid. I can proc Bolt Charge with Barricade pretty well. Overall, is nice. Next, talk about the Graviton Spike. I really like this hand cannon, just as a general thing. And when hand cannons and I have a very storied relationship, like how I like using them. They feel, generally speaking, pretty satisfying. But like, man, do I hate seeing them in the Crucible. This thing feels nice. This thing feels very smooth, very snappy. It technically doesn't have a perk that doesn't activate until you get, kills or precision hits of things, but overall, really solid hand cannon. It looks similar to the director's gun from Control in the general silhouette. Yeah, all you have to do is just make this all black, and then there you go. Gotta wait to get the catalysts because as of right now, or I haven't gotten lucky with getting any of the parts. I've gotten all the intrinsics for the frame, but just have yet to find the prerequisite components for the catalysts. I know the other new additions, the new destination weapons, they all feel pretty solid. I really like the auto rifle. I got pretty lucky with I would say a pretty good roll with rewind rounds and kinetic tremors. Solid. The new hand cannon is solid. I have yet to get a new archetype of hand cannon, that the shotgun hand cannons. I'm hopeful. I'm hopeful that they feel good. They feel solid. Um, Now, I guess to wrap up this impressions and thoughts on the expansion and the update alongside it, how does it compare to previous expansions? And I guess we can even extend this off into talking about previous seasons. I would say Edge of Fate, as an expansion, is a solid foundation for whatever narrative and story Bungie want to tell going forward. It's nothing groundbreaking like Final Shape, like Beyond Light or Witch Queen, but the thing to take into consideration with saying that statement is, oh well, Final Shape was the end of the Light and Dark saga. We were finally confronting directly the big bad of the game and concluding all in that, concluding that story. That's one thing. This is more of a setting up of things to come story with Edge of Fate, and I think overall it does that really well. It did that really well with Lodi, setting his character up, setting up how he is involved with Ikora, with the Nine. All of that works out really well. Um, Gameplay wise, with sandbox stuff, the destination. Overall, destination, Kepler, it's fine. Visually, it's not too striking or dissimilar to some previous destinations we've had in the past, like Io, Venus, even some other places. It is more reminiscent to the Tangled Shore than anything, in my opinion, which is how easy it is to kind of go places or get lost in places, and how seemingly ramshackle and just kind of cobbled together the places. Once again, can't speak on the raid. Hasn't come out yet. Don't have any hands-on experience with it. I'm sure it's going to be pretty solid. I'm sure the loot's going to be solid. It'd be disappointing if it isn't. With things beyond the expansion, with all the more quality of life stuff that has happened with the game, the rewards pass, the portal, the power squish, it's Destiny. If you're not a fan of the grinding process of going through, playing Crucible or playing Strikes or farming out Whisper or Encore, then you're just going to end up not liking the Edge of Fate update and expansion. That's not like news, if you will. But yeah, those are my thoughts and impressions on Edge of Fate. Overall, I think it's a solid expansion. It's nothing groundbreaking. I'd say if you had to get it, probably would want to get it when it's on sale, which won't be for a while. Um, Overall, like the state of the game, just how things are, feels good. Game still feels good. Guns still feel good. The power grind without doing the legendary campaign is probably going to be a little bit of a slog. But that's usually how it goes if you don't have the most current expansion or season. So yeah, it's not bad. Not it's not terrible. It's not absolutely spectacular and amazing. There are sour points. There are less than ideal things, whether that be the Archon as a character, Mattermorph or Matter Spark in Kepler. Kepler as a destination is kind of middling. Its end game is basically just playing Gambit, which is the Sieve, which currently wasn't active, so couldn't go do that to show have any gameplay in the background. But yeah, if you guys enjoyed hearing my little thoughts and impressions on Destiny 2, the Edge of Fate expansion, then feel free to like the video. If you didn't like it, then don't like it. You can leave a dislike or a comment down below. If you agree or have any similar thoughts or differing opinions, feel free to let me know down in the comment section. Be happy to hear whatever your perspectives are on this. I understand that this kind of video, this topic, is different than the Warhammer stuff I've done in the past, but it's perfectly fine. It's nothing wrong with having a little bit of branching out stuff. Yeah, with that, I hope you guys enjoyed. If you're having a good time, I hope you continue to have a great time wherever you may find yourself. And if you're not, well, I hope things can turn around and go for the better. But until next time, guys, I'll see you later. Peace.